Hi, we're Carly and Lauren, and today's lesson is exploring the wage gap. I'm sure you have all heard of the wage gap. This refers to the difference in wages for the same job with the same credentials regarding gender. However, in the shadow of the gender-driven gap, a racial wage gap has been overlooked. It's a pretty serious issue, so we wanted to bring it to your attention today.
Unfortunately, this is not a new issue. History has shown the wage inequalities between Asian, Mexican, and African Americans.
Go ahead.
Let's start off with a success story from the Asian Americans. The Asian American population has experienced discrimination since they first settled in North America in 1750, but the tensions mounted most severely in 1848 during the gold rush. There was a foreign miners' tax, supposedly for all of the foreign miners that visited the states to get rich quickly. However, it was only enforced for Asian miners. The Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882 only added to the discrimination. However, Asians used their incredible work ethic to prove to Americans their worth and took inspiration from their values at home to push workers to their fullest potential. Eventually, the value of an Asian's work increased to over the amount of a white man. The Mexican-American population has not been as lucky. Often the white population views all Mexicans as illegally residing here, which is most often not the case. At the same time, whites often fear them for taking their jobs and ultimately becoming more successful than the minority. While they have not yet broken through the white barrier, we can account for the fear factor they have instilled and recognize that they are definitely skilled workers who deserve more recognition than they have received. For example, during World War II, the Bracero program was used to give Mexican workers a chance to become employed for low wages in agricultural positions. They are often stereotyped into the agricultural industry only, accounting for some of the inequalities. As for the African American population, their story also does not have a happy ending. Inequalities in the educational system often prevent African Americans from gaining the education they need to make them competitive with the Caucasian population. However, African Americans have always been a part of the socioeconomic fabric of our society. Originally, they were working as slaves to support the tobacco and cotton-driven Southern economy during our nation's first years. This mentality of slavery has unfortunately stuck with the African American people, for they are often discriminated against. This was most prominently seen during the Civil Rights Crusade in the 60s, and while the African Americans won there, they are still discriminated against in the workplace to this day. And finally, about the Caucasians. They have usually been paid the highest wages until recently when Asians surpassed them.
So why is this? Well, often Caucasian influence is due to greater opportunities than people of color are presented with. Socioeconomic status plays a huge role, but bias is also involved. 72% of scholarships are given to Caucasians, but this may be due to a larger Caucasian participation in activities, such as equestrian sports. Also, according to one study done by 4 business schools, customer satisfaction was 19% higher with a white male opposed to an African American male or white female. But why are Asians gradually earning more than Caucasians? This may be attributed to the fact that many Asian Americans obtain jobs in the higher paying STEM jobs and succeed at it as well. So what could be done to combat this problem? Most of you have probably seen The Voice, where blind auditions are held where the judges are faced away from the contestant, so they're being judged by their voice rather than how they look. Job interviews should be conducted through a similar system to The Voice's use of blind auditions for the following reasons. Interviewee is not judged by their race or gender, but by their credentials. Humans tend to naturally judge, so not being able to see the interviewee will help avoid bias. This could be done through a racially neutral application, as well as a blind interview or interview over the phone. That way, despite race, applicants can be viewed as purely knowledgeable contenders, rather than those of color. This idea could also be used for the gender wage gap. Clearly, wage inequality is a modern issue, but not one that has no solution. As a society, we must learn to judge from what is on the inside, not the outside. And maybe then we can firmly reach equality. The end.